Hi, welcome to the Daydreams of Quilts YouTube channel. I'm Anita and I'm going to be going through a 4-part video series on making my free frog pond quilt tutorial. And this is the quilt that we'll be making. This is a beginner friendly quilt and beginner friendly YouTube video series. So if you're new to quilting or you want to learn how to quilt, you're in the right place. Or if you're already a quilter, this is a very quick, easy quilt to make, and it's great for charity quilts and quick baby gifts that you need to get finished in a weekend. You can get this pattern for free 3 ways. You can sign up for my newsletter and get it free that way. You can join my Facebook group and find it in the files section. Buy it online in my Etsy shop. This is the first in a 4-part video series. And we're going to be talking about choosing fabrics today and cutting our fabrics. So I would recommend that you have one neutral and one color. And it doesn't have to all be the same fabric for the color. I have a selection of fabrics here that are in the same color family. And there's some here that are a little bit light, like this one here. I'm probably going to pull that out because it'll blend in too much with the background. But these 3 are all around the same color value, which means when you look at the quilt from a distance or in black and white, they will read as one fabric almost. And this one here is another light one. I don't think I'm going to use that one, but I will put this one in. And then I have a bucket of white scraps here. So I'm going to use white for my neutral in the background, but you could use gray, black, any color that contrasts with your main color. Okay, so we'll go down to the cutting table and start cutting our fabrics. Okay, so we need to cut our fabrics. And if you never cut fabric with a rotary cutter before, I first want to stress that this is like a rolling razor blade. So you do not want to cut yourself with it. Whenever you finish a cut, you want to close your knife so that you don't accidentally cut yourself or drop it on your foot or anything like that. What you're going to need is a cutting mat, a rotary cutter, and a ruler. I always put my fabric down with the selvage edge, which is like the edge with these little holes in it. I put that down closest to me so I can line up my ruler with the selvage edge because it's pretty straight most of the time. And always press your fabrics before you cut so that you get accurate cuts. I line up one of the black lines on my ruler with that selvage edge, and I just trim off a little sliver of fabric to straighten up this edge over here. And then you can slide your ruler over to the measurement that you want, which in our case is 2.5 inches. So line up your vertical black line at the 2.5 inch mark, and also line up down here on that selvage edge, and then hold with a wide palm grip on your ruler so it doesn't slip, and then slide your blade up to the top. And notice I closed my blade. So just keep going down your fabric strip like that, or your piece of fabric, until you have as many strips as you want. If you're using multiple fabrics, remember, maybe don't cut up your whole fat quarter because you can get some cuts off of your other fat quarters to change up the fabrics a bit. Then you want to start cutting across this strip to make your squares. So again, I line up my black line, my horizontal black line on the edge of my strip. I trim this edge here, and then slide my ruler over to the 2.5 mark, and I've got a vertical line lined up here and a horizontal line lined up here, and then I start cutting my squares. Now, not everybody can use both hands with the rotary cutter. So if that's the case with you, you might need to walk around to the other side of your table to cut, or start over. I don't know how you would do it with, I'm so used to doing it with two hands, but you got to figure out what works for you. And so you're just going to keep going all the way down your strip, cutting 2.5-inch squares until you get the number of squares that is specified in the quilt pattern, which again you can get by joining my Facebook group or by signing up for my newsletter. Or if you really don't want to do either of those things, you can buy it in my Etsy shop. So I'll have all those links below the video. Okay, so that's how we're going to cut our fat quarters. And then if you're cutting yardage, like a larger piece of yardage, cut mine with the selvage edges at the top, because I've got 2 layers of fabric here. I'll cut them, put it up at the top, and have the folded edge at the bottom of my mat, because that's usually a pretty straight edge. And I'll line up my ruler along that fold and straighten up this first cutting edge. I'm on the 6.5-inch line now. I have a little 1/2 inch on this ruler. Some rulers don't have that. If you didn't have that, you'd have to keep going to 1 more 1/2 in the middle of a square. Okay, so get lined up along this top line, or vertical line, and horizontal at the bottom, and then make your cut. And then the same thing, you'll turn it sideways and trim off the selvage edges. We don't want to wind up with these little holes in our quilt top. And that also straightens up that edge so that we can start cutting our squares across our strip. So you'll just need to cut as many strips as it tells you in the pattern, and you'll be ready to start putting your blocks together. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of our first video, and please make sure to join us for part 2 when we will be sewing our blocks together. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you know when that video gets released, and I will also share it in my newsletter and Facebook group. Okay, happy quilting!